The entire cryptocurrency market is falling apart as Evergrande files for bankruptcy in the USA, triggering a potential stock collapse on Monday. There is no confidence in crypto. Bitcoin is $26,000 and the entire market is swimming in piss. Now, today it's time to talk about what is going to go on with the market this week. And there is actually a couple of good things. Surprisingly, like pretty surprisingly anyway, considering the state of the market, there's a couple of good things. There's a lot more bad things. But we're going to talk about all the different things today. So do drop a like, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, turn on those channel notifications. If you are new, especially if you're new, you're going to like to watch me get wound up as the price of Bitcoin shits the bed and we all get poorer and poorer and poorer. So if you want to watch that happen, do subscribe. Now, Bitcoin's price right now, $26,072. This is how the price looks on Bitfinex, which is the main chart and main exchange that I use to look at the value of Bitcoin. But I don't trade on Bitfinex because I don't like to trade on Bitfinex. I trade on BYBIT. However, if we're to look at the price of Bitcoin on Kraken, this is what the price of Bitcoin did on Kraken. Now, the current price of Bitcoin on Kraken is $26,059. However, on their Tether USD pair, the price of Bitcoin on Kraken rose up to $30,000 today. Now, to give an example of in the past, when that has happened on Kraken, when the price has wicked down to something like this here, where the price here, and we can see somebody on Twitter has tweeted this out. Basically, the price of Solana on Kraken one day wicked from $34 down to $23. Now, over the next month or so, the price of Solana went down to $24 and filled that gap. Now, where it could be about to experience the same thing here on the price of Bitcoin on Kraken, could be about to experience a Bitcoin coming up and filling that gap. But what is the likelihood of that happening? Well, to explain what's going on in the markets right now, shit is hitting the fan, everybody is drowning, and we have only a matter of time until either Evergrande gets bailed out or the entire financial ecosystem collapses. The Netherlands is already in a recession. Here in the UK, wouldn't surprise me if we went into one, given our government's inability to manage anything, not even being able to, I don't know, they're just useless, aren't they? But I won't get too much into it. I always wind myself up on government points. Now, the first thing I want to point out is China. Evergrande looks pretty terrible. In fact, if we look at the Chinese stock market from the past week or so, this is how it's been performing. So this is a chart dating back to 2003. If we reduce that chart to the past week and see how it's been performing, the Chinese stock market, the main index here, the Chinese Shanghai Composite Stock Market Index, has dropped only a little bit. It doesn't look so bad. But actually, when you start looking within that, you've got a lot of these major corporations here, a 30 billion corporation, an 8 billion corporation, losing significant amounts of value, especially across the course of the year. But right now, it's not quite as bad as what the media is making it out. Because if we look across the course of the year, there's some companies that are making big profits, and there are other companies that are making huge losses. Day to day, though, definitely was a down day last week with a lot of companies dropping small amounts of value. Now, that's going to get worse if this gets worse. Now, this is Evergrande filing for US bankruptcy protection as China economic fears are mounting. Hong Kong, New York routers. Embattled developer China Evergrande Group has filed for US bankruptcy protection as part of the world's biggest debt restructuring as anxiety grows over China and its worsening property crisis and impact on the weakening economy. Now, this is in part, I don't know if you've seen the videos on YouTube and whatnot, but if you just type in Chinese building falls over or anything like that, you'll see loads of them. Basically, Evergrande cut so many costs when they were developing these properties. They were built out of sandpaper and paper mache. And they all just fall over. They're rubbish. Nobody wants to buy them. Housing demand in China for that reason. It's pretty difficult to insure a flat if you buy a flat, so people don't buy them. So they built all these buildings. Nobody wanted to live in them, so they're all ultimately useless. They tried to solve a housing crisis and instead created one. So that's why Evergrande is currently facing bankruptcy right now due to a bunch of corner cutting and inability to provide quality. Because of that, China's second largest company is Evergrande. It's like Apple in America. It's like Apple. If Apple went bust, what would happen to the American economy? It would be horrendous. The people of the streets would be just, I don't know, we would have anarchy on our hands right there. So that's kind of, to give you an understanding of scale and size, that's kind of what we're talking about here. This is a $300 billion company. Apple's size is about $1 trillion. But on the whole, that's the size of the debt, sorry, is $300 billion. So it's a very, very significant hole that they've got in their books right now. And are they going to plug it? Well, somebody else is probably going to step in and bail out the debt. But at the same time, what does all of this mean for crypto? And why am I quite excited here about this wick? Because this is just like shooting in the dark. Nobody knows what's going to happen with this. Well, I want to point out to you what happens when a government or country enters into a recession. If we look here at this chart from 2008, when the recession hit, down here, come on, focus camera, there we go. 2008, recession hits, boom, print money. And then we keep printing buckets of cash. Economy finally stabilizes a few years later in 2014, and then we don't print any cash for ages. If our countries are going to enter a recession, it means that the days of interest rate hikes are over. It means that we're going to go back to printing cash. And ultimately, what does that mean for Bitcoin? In a recession initially, it would be like what we experienced at the start of the pandemic when the price of Bitcoin shat the bed and it went to like $3,000 from being up at $11,000 or whatever it was. It was a horrendous drop, and we would experience that same drop. We would have a calamity James of a drop where the price of Bitcoin potentially even drops to $10,000. It could happen. But after that, money printer kicks in. Boom, boom, boom. Print all that cash. Print all that cash. And before you know, you've devalued the supply of money again, and devalue the value of money again by increasing the supply of money, and ultimately that causes the price of Bitcoin to rise. People realize that inflation is getting out of control, and with government and everybody just spirals down into a hellish hellhole, and all of us crypto people live on the moon. That is kind of the scenario that I'm hoping for. Maybe not in such literal words, but you get the gist. It is what it is. Bitcoin is actually, I think, in not that bad a state right now. Again, bearing in mind the state of the economy, state of everything, $26,000 Bitcoin is pretty good. Even if you're at $20,000, that'd be less good. But $26,000 is not so bad if you actually look at it on a higher time frame. I'm going to show you Bitcoin on the higher time frame right now. This is Bitcoin on the higher time frame. We've actually dropped down now. We found our previous level of support down here. The odds of us just flying back below that level of support right here is incredibly, incredibly low. I think we'll hold that for a little bit. Look, if we lose the level here at $25,000, it's game over. We go all the way down to 10K. If we lose $25,000, we go down to 10K. That's what happens. But it won't happen overnight, and it's more so likely that we do have a short-term bounce at least back up to maybe 27,500 before dropping back down significantly. It's important to point out at this point in time as well that you could also chart this as some kind of bullish flag, bearish, I don't know, you can chart however you want it, megaphone pattern. There's so many different things that you could read into here. The key one being, look, Bitcoin's price is down, but it's not that bad. And of course, what trades can we be taking on the crypto markets right now? Well, first of all, before assessing that, I want to point out the value of Ethereum as well is down pretty bad, but it's not quite down as bad as what Bitcoin is because of Ethereum's Bitcoin value is back on the rise. And that could be something that we can read into at this point because we kind of bottomed out. We formed that inverse head and shoulders. So I think that Ethereum is actually a better play coming out of this bearish period of time. If we look at the 4-hour chart here, it's important to point out that we had another bullish retest off of the outside of this previous level of support. This previous level of support coincides directly with that right there. That is really good to see. You've got your nice narrowing range, and now we're bouncing back to the upside. I'd like to see Ethereum actually make a full recovery over the course of the next couple of weeks and resume trading back at this level here. What is the likelihood of that happening? It's probably not going to happen next week. That'd be like shocking. But I mean, next week is probably going to be quite a slow one. A lot of liquidity got removed from the markets. But overall, I more so prefer a long on Ethereum right now than a short. On the price of Bitcoin, I don't really have that much of a preference. I won't probably be trading Bitcoin over the course of the next week just because there's not a whole lot of direction in the charts. And at the same time, I'm probably, on the whole, I know I say I'm more bullish on Ethereum than bearish. That's just from a charting perspective, but from a fundamental perspective, look, if Evergrande's going to go down, I'm not going to be longing anything and I'm going to be shorting everything. I don't think they're going to go down. I think there'll be a bailout, but at the same time, I think that the days of money printing are coming back. And when they do start coming back, we're going to see the price of all cryptocurrencies rise so very significantly. A couple of other things to discuss today would be that XRP could retest 30 cents on the SEC appeal. And basically, if you want to give this article a read, go to cryptosavingexpert.com. And the other thing would be that Binance dropped by payment processor checkout.com. What does that mean? Well, that is really good news for TAP. TAP's price is still incredibly cheap right now. I think that this is the best buy in the market, considering where it's at and where it can go. Binance getting dropped by checkout.com is another reason why TAP, being a regulated government, government know about it, they're okay with it, they're on the stock market, all that kind of stuff. It's one of the reasons why TAP will outperform everything over the course of the next few years. Binance is going to get absolutely obliterated by regulation. It's just what's going to be happening because they are ultimately public enemy number one in terms of crypto exchange. So that's just going to happen anyway. Other thing I'd like to point out is Naga is still doing very well. Nice sideways action here. But overall, the walls have come down now on the sell side. So I think it's probably going to make another move to the upside over the course next week. A lot of content coming out about Naga and all sorts of stuff soon. If you want to watch the most recent 100x video, I'd recommend you go watch it. You click on the thing at the top of the screen right now. If you are interested in trading, check out the links and information in today's video description to a trading tutorial. But on that note, guys, yes, we are swimming in piss right now, but soon we might be swimming in gold, or at least not liquid gold, because that'd be very warm. Let's just hope that things get better over the course of next week. Pretty sure they won't do, and let's just hope that Evergrande doesn't shit the bed and then everything really goes wrong. So on that note, guys, do drop a like on today's video, subscribe to the channel, and